Blinded by glaucoma as a child, Ray Charles didn't just overcome the odds. He redefined music, blending blues, jazz, gospel, and R&B into something entirely his own. But behind the success, he battled addiction, infidelity, and the law. How did a boy from a tiny house in Greenville, Florida, rise to live in a Beverly Hills mansion? And what happened to his $75 million fortune after his death? Today, we're diving into Ray Charles's life, legacy, and the homes he left behind, including a $10.7 million property that recently hit the market. Let's take a closer look at the man behind the music. From his childhood home to Beverly Hills mansion. In 2019, a stunning property once owned by the legendary Ray Charles, often hailed as the father of soul, was listed for sale at around $10.7 million. The home, now a sleek and modern single-level residence, has been fully remodeled in recent years. It likely looked quite different when Ray lived there, reflecting the style of a different era. Ray Charles, who passed away in 2004, had achieved remarkable success, rising from incredibly humble beginnings to become one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. Born Ray Charles Robinson, he was a gifted singer, songwriter, pianist, and composer whose legacy continues to live on. Known as both the genius and the father of soul, Charles pioneered the genre in the 1950s by blending blues, jazz, rhythm and blues, and gospel into a sound uniquely his own. Later in his career, after signing with ABC Records, Ray broke new ground as one of the first black artists to be granted full artistic control by a major record label. His blindness, caused by glaucoma at the age of 7, never deterred him. As he once told the New York Times, "I was going to do what I was going to do anyway. I played music since I was 3. I could see then. I lost my sight when I was 7, so blindness didn't have anything to do with it. It didn't give me anything, and it didn't take nothing." Ray had his keyboards marked with Braille and never allowed his disability to limit his ambitions. His 1960 hit Georgia on My Mind became the first of 3 #1 singles, and he would go on to release numerous critically acclaimed albums. Throughout his career, Charles received countless honors, including a National Medal of Arts, and he won 17 Grammy Awards, 5 of them posthumously. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $75 million. Much of his wealth, especially his real estate holdings, was left to the Ray Charles Foundation, which supports vision and hearing-impaired individuals. He also provided $500,000 trust funds for each of his 12 children. To understand how far Ray came, one only needs to look at his childhood home. Ray's boyhood house, located in the small town of Greenville in northern Florida, still stands today. Though modest, it remains in excellent condition and offers a powerful contrast to the luxury he later enjoyed. Ray lived in this tiny house with his mother from infancy until her death during his teenage years. In 2006, the home was nearly lost to demolition, but the mayor of Greenville at the time, a childhood friend of Ray's, stepped in to save it. The house was restored in 2009 and now serves as a historic landmark and tourist attraction. Now there's a historical marker out front and a fence surrounds the property. Built in the 1920s, the house had no electricity or plumbing. A wood-burning stove, a fireplace, and a hand pump for well water provided the family with their basic needs. At the age of 7, Ray was sent away to a school for the deaf and blind, but he often returned to visit his mother until she passed away when he was just 15. Limeert Park home. In the 1960s, Ray Charles lived with his family in a home located in the Limeert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. While there isn't much detailed information available about this particular property, it did make an appearance in Ray, the 2005 biopic about his life. Though interior photos of the house are hard to come by, listing details reveal that the home offered 2,644 square feet of living space, with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Today, it's estimated to be worth around $1.2 million. Limeert Park, a historic neighborhood in South Los Angeles, was developed in the 1920s and is known for its charming Spanish colonial revival homes and tree-lined streets, a fitting setting for a musician of Ray's stature during that era. View Park Mansion. Ray and his family later upgraded to a much grander residence in the View Park neighborhood, also in South Los Angeles. This mansion, featured prominently in the Ray movie, was located just northeast of LAX. The film crew managed to capture footage of the home before the current owners began renovations. Ray reportedly had this house custom built in 1956, not long after relocating from Florida to California. In more recent years, it was listed on the market for around $1 million. The mansion itself is impressive, spanning over 8,400 square feet with 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms, all situated on nearly an acre of land. The property includes a tennis court, a spacious yard, and sweeping views from downtown Los Angeles to the South Bay. One of the most unique features still intact today is the original swimming pool, where an outline of one of Ray's pianos is etched in the bottom of the pool. While the home's exterior retains much of its original charm from when Ray lived there, the interior has been modernized over the years. Beverly Hills property. And finally, in 2019, one of Ray Charles's former trophy properties came back on the market, listed for $10.5 million, a striking reminder of how far he had come from his humble beginnings. Located in the heart of Beverly Hills, one of Ray Charles's former homes has been transformed in recent years into a sleek, contemporary retreat. This single-level residence has been completely remodeled, giving it a modern, minimalist aesthetic. The exterior features a clean, whitewashed finish with a flat roof, while inside, the home offers 3,600 square feet of open, airy living space. Polished concrete floors run throughout, complemented by expansive floor-to-ceiling windows that flood the home with natural light. Many of the main living areas open directly to the outdoors, with sliding glass doors leading to a stylish swimming pool and patio. The entertainer's backyard has a vast terrace that connects to the swimming pool and spa, and all of the furniture, furnishings, and electronics were included with the sale of the property. Inside, the home boasts a modern center island kitchen, a cozy sitting area complete with a fireplace and mounted TV, and a formal dining space perfect for hosting guests. The property also offers impressive views of the surrounding canyons and stretches all the way to the downtown Los Angeles skyline. These scenic vistas are also visible from the spacious master suite, one of 3 bedrooms in the home, which also includes 4.5 bathrooms throughout. Despite his successful career and financial achievements, with a net worth of $75 million at the time of his death, Ray Charles's life was far from smooth or easy. His blindness was just one of many challenges he faced. Throughout his 7 decades, Charles battled personal demons and carried the weight of childhood trauma that stayed with him well into adulthood. His journey to greatness was marked not only by musical triumphs but also by deep struggles. This is the tragic real-life story of Ray Charles. Ray Charles lost his brother in an accident. Ray Charles Robinson was born on September 23, 1930, to Bailey Robinson and Artha Williams. His father played only a small role in his early life, making a few brief appearances before leaving the family for good. That left Artha to raise Ray and his younger brother George on her own. Reflecting on his father in his 1978 autobiography, Brother Ray, Ray Charles's own story, Charles wrote, "The old man wasn't part of my life. He was a tall dude. I remember that. But he was hardly around. He was so big, and she, Artha, was so small that people often confused them for father and daughter. George, just a year younger than Ray, was described by his brother as remarkably bright, able to add, multiply, and divide by the age of 3, impressing neighbors with his natural gift for numbers. Despite growing up without a father, Ray remembered his early childhood as joyful and full of small wonders. He even recalled finding happiness in the simple glow of matches he would strike at night. But that childhood joy was shattered when Ray was just 5 years old. One day, while playing in the backyard, George slipped and fell into a large metal tub filled with soapy water, the same tub their mother used for washing clothes. Ray tried to pull his brother out, but George, weighed down by the wet laundry, was too heavy. Panicked, Ray ran to get his mother. She pulled George from the tub, but it was too late. The young boy had drowned. Glaucoma took Ray Charles's vision at age 7. The loss of his brother was just the first of many tragedies in Ray Charles's early life. Around the same time that he witnessed George's drowning, his vision began to deteriorate. By the age of 7, Ray was completely blind. His blindness, now believed to have been caused by glaucoma, went untreated due to the family's poverty and the limited medical care available to black families in the segregated South. According to the Smithsonian Institute, many African Americans living in poor conditions during the late 19th and early 20th centuries suffered blindness due to a lack of proper health care. Ray was not alone. Other black musicians of that era, like Blind Tom Wiggins and Blind Lemon Jefferson, also lost their sight. Sadly, blindness became part of how some of these artists were marketed, feeding into the image of the weary blues singer, worn down by life. But Ray's mother, Artha Williams, refused to let him see his blindness as a weakness. She was determined to raise a son who didn't rely on pity. Ray remembered her saying, "You're blind, you ain't dumb, you lost your sight, not your mind." Taking her words to heart, Ray rejected the idea of picking up the guitar, an instrument often linked to the stereotype of blind, helpless musicians. Instead, he focused on creating his own path, one where his blindness would never define him or hold him back. The tragic life of Ray Charles's mother. Artha Williams was only a teenager when she gave birth to Ray Charles. In contrast, Ray's father, Bailey Robinson, was much older, already married, and, according to Irene Earle's book Young Musicians in World History, had taken Artha in when she was an orphan. The relationship between them was deeply troubling. Artha, still a young girl, became pregnant by the man who was supposed to be her guardian. The scandal forced her to leave her hometown of Greenville, Florida, and travel to Albany, Georgia, where she gave birth to Ray. Eventually, she returned to Greenville with her baby. Despite Bailey's absence, his wife Mary Jane, who had also raised Artha, stayed close and helped care for Ray. Artha struggled with her health from a young age and walked with a cane. According to Ray Charles's son, Ray Charles Robinson, Jr., in his book You Don't Know Me, Reflections of My Father, Ray Charles, their family was among the poorest in the neighborhood. Ray often said, "There was nothing between him and the bottom but dirt." After the tragic death of Ray's brother George and Ray's own loss of sight, Artha became determined to give her son every chance at a better life. She sought out opportunities, and with the help of family friends and her persistence, she enrolled Ray at the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind in St. Augustine in 1937. It was a turning point for young Ray. Sadly, Artha passed away in 1945 when Ray was still a teenager, leaving him to face the world on his own, but with the strength and determination she had instilled in him. Early struggles in Ray Charles's career. There's struggling as a young musician, and then there's Ray Charles's kind of struggling. Blind, poor, haunted by the death of his brother, and growing up in the harsh realities of the Jim Crow South, Ray carried enough emotional weight to break most people. On top of that, he became an orphan in his teens. His father had died years earlier, and after his mother's death, he was left completely on his own. During his 8 years at the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, Ray immersed himself in music. He learned to read, write, and compose using Braille, and picked up several instruments including the saxophone, trumpet, clarinet, and, of course, the keyboards. His classical music training at the school built on the foundation he had already started as a child when he first learned to play the upright piano from a local store owner named Wiley Pittman. After his mother's passing, Ray left school to pursue music professionally. He headed to Jacksonville and spent the next few years traveling around Florida as a struggling road musician. According to the biography Ray Charles, singer and musician, he often lived in poverty, sometimes going days without food. It was during this difficult period that he was first introduced to heroin, a habit that would follow him for years. Despite the hardships, Ray managed to save enough money as a teenager to make his way to Seattle, hoping to find more opportunities. There, he started performing as a crooner, inspired by artists like Nat King Cole. To avoid being confused with the popular boxer Sugar Ray Robinson, he decided to drop his last name and perform simply as Ray Charles. Ray Charles's marriage to Della Beatrice Howard. For 22 years, Della Beatrice Howard, known as B, was married to Ray Charles, and together they had 3 sons. But during their marriage, Charles also fathered 5 more children with 5 different women outside of his relationship with B. According to Earn the Necklace, Ray met B when she became one of his backup singers, and they married in 1955, just a year after meeting. By that time, Ray had already been briefly married to a woman named Eileen Williams, a marriage that lasted only a year, and he had fathered a child with another woman. Ray and B welcomed their first son, Ray Charles Robinson Jr., the same year they married. Professionally, Charles was making waves on the R&B charts with hits like I Got a Woman and a Fool for You. His growing success meant more time on the road, performing in black venues across the country on what was known as the Chitlin Circuit, often leaving B behind. In fact, when their first son was born, Charles was performing in Texas. While on tour, Ray began an affair with another one of his backup singers, Margie Hendrix. The two had a son together, and Hendrix's powerful vocals can be heard on the hit Nighttime is the Right Time. Over time, Charles's drug addiction, infidelities, and demanding career took a toll on his marriage. By 1977, B had had enough, and the couple divorced. Despite having many relationships, Ray Charles never married again. Ray Charles's relationship with Margie Hendrix. In the late 1950s, Ray Charles brought on a New York vocal group called the Cookies to serve as his backup singers. The group included Dorothy Jones, Darlene McCrea, and Margie Hendrix, who would go on to become both Charles's lover and the mother of one of his children. Margie Hendrix, sometimes spelled Hendrix, was born on March 13, 1935, in Register, Georgia. As a teenager, she was already showing her musical talent, singing, playing piano, and even directing her church choir. Eventually, she moved to New York to chase a career in music. In 1956, Margie joined the Cookies, replacing Beulah Robertson, and not long after, the group signed with Atlantic Records. By 1958, Hendrix and McCrea had left the Cookies and formed the Raylettes, Ray Charles's newly formed backup group. It was during this time that Margie and Ray began an affair that would last into the early 1960s. Their relationship, however, was far from stable. While Ray struggled with drugs, Margie battled alcoholism, and the combination led to frequent clashes. In 1964, after a heated argument with Ray, Margie left the Raylettes and their affair came to an end. She later moved to Los Angeles to try and launch a solo career. Tragically, Margie Hendrix died in July 1973, reportedly from a drug overdose. When Regina King was preparing to play Margie in the 2004 Ray biopic, she found little information about her. There's very little written about Margie Hendrix, King noted, which is pretty amazing because she had one of the most unique voices ever in American music. Radio stations banned What Did I Say? What Did I Say became one of Ray Charles's most iconic songs and was later ranked by Rolling Stone as the 10th greatest song of all time on their list of the 500 greatest songs. With its unforgettable electric piano riff and Ray's soulful, electrifying vocals, the song catapulted him from R&B fame to mainstream pop success. Interestingly, the song was born out of improvisation. Ray came up with it on the spot during the final minutes of a concert, just trying to fill the remaining time of his set. After a few live performances, he called Atlantic Records and said, "I'm playing a song out here on the road, and I don't know what it is, but the people are just going wild every time we play it, and I think we ought to record it." When What Did I Say was released, it stirred up plenty of controversy. According to an essay by Michael Lydon, the song was banned by some radio stations due to its risque lyrics and suggestive energy. Even some black-owned stations took issue with the way it blended gospel influences with secular themes. But despite the backlash, young audiences couldn't get enough of it. The song became a massive hit, breaking into the Billboard Top 10 and officially marking Ray Charles's crossover into pop stardom. The timing couldn't have been better. Ray's contract with Atlantic was about to expire, and within 6 months of the song's success, he signed a much more lucrative deal with ABC Records. Ray Charles's drug addiction led to run-ins with the law. Drug addiction is, unfortunately, a common thread in the lives of many musicians, and Ray Charles was no exception. While he was unique in many aspects of his career, his struggles with drugs followed a familiar and tragic pattern. What set Ray apart, however, was just how young he was when it all began. According to a 1961 Jet magazine report, Charles was arrested after police found marijuana, a hypodermic syringe, and a capsule with heroin residue. During the investigation, he admitted he had been using drugs since the age of 16. It started with marijuana, given to him by venue promoters to help ease his performance anxiety. But that soon escalated into heroin, and for the next 15 years, Ray battled addiction. Charles was arrested again later for drug possession, but as Super Lawyers notes, he managed to avoid prison by agreeing to enter rehab. Black Doctor reports that Ray's drug use was, in part, a way to cope with the trauma and nightmares he had since witnessing his brother's drowning as a child. After completing rehab in 1966, Charles turned a new page in his life and poured that transformation into his music. He recorded songs like "Let's Go Get Stoned and I Don't Need No Doctor," directly reflecting his struggle and recovery. His 1966 album, Crying Time, was heavily influenced by his battle with addiction and his journey toward healing. Ray Charles struggled with alcohol. After leaving rehab in the mid-1960s, Ray Charles was finally free from the grip of heroin for the first time since his teenage years. While this was a major victory, another destructive habit quietly took its place: alcohol. Although he gave up hard drugs, Charles continued to drink gin and smoke marijuana for the rest of his life. Reflecting on this in his later years, he admitted he didn't see these habits as a problem at the time. As Slate reported, while working on his autobiography, Charles once said, "Just like smack never got in the way of my working, same goes for booze and reefer. What I do with my own body is my own business." But toward the end of his life, he came to regret that mindset. In 2003, Ray was diagnosed with alcoholic liver disease and hepatitis C, the result of decades of heavy drinking. The 73-year-old musician famously remarked, "If I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself." Dr. Gabe Merkin later explained how Ray's years of drug and alcohol abuse took a serious toll. The liver, the body's only organ capable of breaking down alcohol, was pushed to its limits, not only from years of drinking, but also from processing the various substances Ray had used over time. Combined with a lifestyle that included numerous sexual partners and relentless touring, his body eventually began to fail under the strain. Ray Charles's body broke down in his final years. After more than 50 years of performing, relentless touring, struggles with addiction, and a lifetime of womanizing, Ray Charles's health finally began to fail in the early 2000s. In 2003, at the age of 73, he was forced to cancel a tour to recover from hip surgery, his first canceled tour in over 5 decades. His spokesman, Jerry Digney, remained hopeful, saying Ray planned to return to the stage the following spring. While the surgery was a success, Charles received devastating news shortly after. According to biography, he was diagnosed with liver disease, and doctors informed him that his time was limited. Despite the diagnosis, Ray remained focused, dedicating his energy to 2 final projects: his last album and a biopic about his life. On June 10, 2004, Ray Charles passed away at his home in Beverly Hills at the age of 73. 2 months later, his final album, Genius Loves Company, was released. The album featured duets with some of music's biggest stars, including George Michael, B.B. King, Alicia Keys, and Willie Nelson. It became the best-selling album of his career, and went on to win multiple Grammy Awards the following year. That same year, the film Ray was released, telling the story of his remarkable and often turbulent life. The biopic was both a critical and box office hit, with Jamie Foxx earning widespread acclaim for his performance. Foxx won a BAFTA, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award for his powerful portrayal of the legendary musician. Ray Charles's estate had to sue his children. After Ray Charles's passing, tributes poured in from some of the biggest names in music. Willie Nelson, Aretha Franklin, Billy Joel, and many others honored his legacy. Aretha Franklin called him the voice of a lifetime. Bruce Hornsby recalled seeing Ray at one of his final performances, a tribute to Elton John. Though Charles appeared frail and had to be helped to the piano, Hornsby said, "When he started singing, that was it. Everyone else was playing for second." With the success of his final album, Genius Loves Company, and the acclaimed biopic Ray, it seemed as though Charles had taken his final bow to a standing ovation. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing within his family. At the time of his death, Ray Charles was worth an estimated $75 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. Shortly before he passed, CNN reported that Charles met with his 12 children and told them each would receive $500,000, provided they agreed to waive any future claims to his estate. However, in 2012, the Ray Charles estate sued 7 of his children, accusing them of violating that agreement by sending copyright termination notices to music publishers. According to Fabiosa, in 2015, the estate won a legal battle that barred the children from seeking any further share of their father's estate. Adding to the tragedy, in June 2008, Universal Studios in Los Angeles suffered a massive fire that destroyed over 500,000 master recordings. As the New York Times later reported, Ray Charles was among the many legendary artists whose original recordings were lost in the blaze. Ray Charles's life was a powerful mix of brilliance and hardship, a story of a man who rose from poverty and blindness to become a music legend, yet faced personal battles that followed him until the end. From his groundbreaking hits to his struggles with addiction and the complicated legacy he left behind, Ray's journey is as unforgettable as his music. What do you think was Ray Charles's most lasting impact? His music, his influence on other artists, or the way he overcame adversity? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into his life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Until next time.